somewhat limited of the guys that you can bring up. But I'm looking at the 2020 depth chart right now, and to me, first base is a real question for this team. And I know we've talked about Justin Smoke possibly returning on a 1-year, short-term, low-money type of deal. But right now, it doesn't look all that good. The organization, there's not a lot of guys who are strictly first baseman who look to take the leap up to next year to be that role. You have Rowdy Tellez, but again, not quite sure he's done enough to warrant that role, an everyday role. And so I'm asking you guys, how do you think they should address that role? Should they probably bring Justin Smoke back on a 1-year deal? Is there anyone in the organization that I might have glanced over? Or should they go out and get someone else at first base? How do you guys think the Blue Jays should address that position?
No, I don't think it's a next year type of decision. This is something I've been kind of pondering for a little while now, and I want to hear your guys' thought on it. So we've all heard the mumbo jumbo about Vladdy. Is he a third baseman, or is he going to move to first, or whatever kind of, whatever it is. But there's a guy in the minors, and obviously drafted in the first round last year, Jordan Groshans. I mean, he looks to me like your prototypical third baseman. He's got a good build. He hits for power. He's a great hitter. Obviously, he's been injured most of this season. Now, again, like I said, it's not going to be a next year fit because he's only 19. He was only an A-ball. But as a long-term fit, maybe if Vladdy, is the same type of guy for years to come, maybe you do think about moving him to a first base and having Grosjean slide into the third base spot. I don't know. But for next year, I think it's tough one. I don't know what the free agency market looks like for first basemen. Honestly, at this point, I wouldn't be opposed to bringing Smokey back on a 1-year small money deal. But as of right now, the first base is really up in the air. But that's my long-term look at it when it comes to Groshans and Vladdy. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that, though.
Yeah, I certainly think it's a possibility. We mentioned in the last podcast that I think Vladdy should be playing third base until he can no longer really play third base. If his defense isn't showing any improvement through next year, then maybe you consider that and move to first base. I know that it's been talked about, it's certainly been discussed, and we've heard about it quite a bit, that could be in the cards for years to come. But I think as of right now, we just keep him playing third base and see if he improves up there. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's good that they have some reinforcements. You mentioned Jordan Groshans, who is probably still at least 2 years away, if not more. And Kevin Smith is another guy in the organization. He's probably the best third base prospect or left side infield prospect that they have. And that's saying something considering that there's a lot of very good middle infielders on this organization and in their pipelines. But I certainly wouldn't think it's out of the question if that should be the Blue Jays' goal for the years to come, to have Groshans at some point, whether it's 2021 or 2022, whenever he's ready, be the everyday third baseman, and then eventually you see Vladdy playing first base.
Yeah, I can definitely see Groshans playing third base and Vladdy moving to first base. Groshans is definitely a very promising prospect for the Blue Jays. But Kevin Barker made a point earlier in the Baseball Central radio show. He said on a World Series Blue Jays team, Rowdy Tellez is not the first baseman. The first baseman is not on the team right now. Rowdy Tellez is more of a DH. Even at the game on Tuesday, he made some 2 crucial errors. He just didn't look very good on the field. He doesn't have a very good reaction. And looking at the market for the next 2 free agent class, and the only notable name is Ryan Zimmerman, and he's about to turn 36. Other than that, we got the Steve Pearces of the world and the Mitch Morelands. But a guy that we could target is possibly in 2022, Freddie Freeman, who is a free agent then. That would be a good signing. Daniel Murphy as well, Brandon Belt, and Anthony Rizzo. But other than that, the dry market doesn't look in favor for the Blue Jays. So unless they reach out on the trade market, there's certainly not some reinforcements coming to first base. But a wired me would probably say sign Anthony Rendon this offseason and put Vladdy at first.
Going big. All right.
But yeah.
That's a lot to digest there. We've talked about Anthony Rendon coming. That's at this point probably a pipe dream, to be quite honest. I think Anthony Rendon with the year he's had, and he's still relatively young. I mean, he's not he's not 25 like Bryce Harper was, but he's still 29 years old. You can still get, you would think, at least just under half a decade of his prime left. Maybe that's a little bit of a stretch, but I still think that that's a lot of money that you'd have to be a win-now team to pay, because for the Blue Jays paying up big for Anthony Rendon, the best years that you're going to get for him are the next few years of his deal. So those years, are you sure that you're a postseason contender right off the bat? Because if not, you could be looking at a really bad contract nearing the end of that deal. So I don't think that's all that realistic, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, so the best option right now would be signing Smoke, kind of to a similar contract. He won't ask for much. And Justin Smoke, we know he's going to give you. He gave you another 20 home run season this year. So for the Jays, I'd say sign Smoke. But Biggio can certainly move to first base, if not Vladdy. And we could possibly sign a second base, as the market for second basemen are technically more open than as opposed to first base. But yeah, we're going to obviously look to reinforcements in the offseason, but they're probably going to be focused on pitching for sure. And maybe a power bat in the middle of the order. That'd be very good for this team. Personally, I want to hear your thoughts, James. I think I didn't ask you, but me and Rob are on this. Teoscar Hernandez and his future with the Blue Jays, do you see a spot on the roster for him next season, James?
I've tried to stay patient with this guy for so long. I mean, you see flashes of fantastic stuff. And I gotta say, since like the All-Star break, he hasn't looked bad. But I don't know. Like, as you brought up with the whole Kevin Barker thing, on a World Series team, Rowdy Tellez isn't a starting first baseman. And I think we can all agree, on a World Series team, Teoscar Hernandez is not in the starting outfield and may not even be on the roster. Will he be here next year? I mean, I would say so. I mean, he might be an extra outfielder, though he might not be one of the main guys that's getting all this playing time like he is now. I don't know. I mean, do I see them keeping him around because they brought him in? Yeah, that's the only reason I see that, because they want to continue to push him out there and see what he can do. But do I like him? It's hit or miss for me. I don't know.
I feel like he's a guy who, again, as you mentioned, he's shown some flashes, of him being a potentially very good baseball player. Last year, we saw him abysmal with the glove. This year, it's been a lot better, but still, he's probably a neutral at best on defense, at very best case scenario. And on offense, he's a guy who's got power. He can hit the ball through all sides of the field, out of the park, any park. He's got power, no doubt about it. But unfortunately, his inability to get on base, as he's shown so far in his relatively short major league career, it's not really all that useful when you're only getting on base around 30% of the time, which is a little more than what he's gotten on base at. So if he's not going to get on base, if he's not going to hit home runs, he's really doesn't have all that much to offer, because he's got decent speed, as I mentioned, an average glove, and doesn't get much on base. So I think really he's Randall Grichuk, but not as good of a fielder.
For me, the outfield is kind of stuck with There's a lot of There's a lot of players in the outfield, mediocre players in the outfield right now with Derek Fisher. I feel like Derek Fisher shouldn't be handed the job right away next year. He should be in the tryouts for the spring training job. Same with Billy McKinney. He's a fourth outfielder at best. Teoscar Hernandez as you guys said best, he's hit or miss. Randall Grichuk's the sole person that he's probably going to get a spot for years to come, especially with his contract extension. So the Jays ideally should look to sign another free agent bat. I mentioned before Marcell Ozuna. He's a free agent. The Jays have targeted him before the winter meetings 2 years ago. So he would be a very middle-of-the-order bat who can give you upwards of 40 home runs a season when healthy and when producing fully. Teoscar Hernandez, just believe he's blocking Anthony Alford's path to the majors. Not like Anthony Alford's earned it with all his injuries, but personally, I would like to see more upside with Anthony Alford. I feel like Teoscar Hernandez is just going to give you just a power bat off the bench. Just home runs, but nothing else, like you guys said.
Yeah, and should we go to the mailbag? I think we've covered pretty much about everything. I'm looking at the topic list, and we've talked just about everything.
Yeah, I think the mailbag's pretty hefty this week, so we should go right into there. All right, so pay the hero 34 says playoffs next year.
I mean, we can all dream, but they're starting to put pieces together. I think next year is going to be more of that, hovering around 500 type of season. I mean, hey, crazier things have happened. Teams have surprised. You never know what's really going to happen. But the way this development is going, the way this quote-unquote rebuild is going, I don't know if I see them as a playoff team next year, because there's still a lot of great teams in the American League that, are out right now. Tampa Bay right now is not in a playoff spot, or at least they're just a fraction out, and the Red Sox aren't making the playoffs right now. You're telling me they're not going to make it next year? I don't know. They usually bounce back after a rough season. So, I mean, again, anything is possible. But I don't see them being a playoff team next year, but I see them hovering around 500 and showing progression through the rebuild so far.
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's good to dream. It's good to believe that anything is possible. But I would say if I had to bet on whether they'll make the playoffs or not, I probably wouldn't bet a lot of money on it. And that's the reason for that is because, yeah, you might have the core of a good team, but seasoning is what this team will need. And next year it'll be the first full year of Bo Bichette. Really, I mean, Vladdy, it'll be his first full season technically, but it'll really be a sophomore year because he's pretty much been up here the whole year. Same with Kevin Biggio. Nate Pearson, he hasn't thrown a major league pitch yet. I'm not sure you can really sign off and say he's ready to be an ace of a playoff team just yet. But what I do think, though, is that by the end of 2020, Pearson will be up. Bo, Vladdy, Kevin Biggio will have another year under their belt. Danny Jansen, too, another guy on that list. They'll see a lot of other guys come up as well, guys who they believe can contend. Anthony Kay, for example. So TJ Zoik's another one. So I would say that by the end of 2020, you should see a skeleton of a playoff team, the team that can go ahead and contend in 2021. But as early as next year, I'm just not ready to say that a team that might lose 100 games this year will be a playoff team 365 days from now. It's a little hard for me to believe, but hey, anything can happen.
Yeah, right now, if they keep the team as is, 70 wins is probably where they'll be at. You said like the guys like Guerrero, Bichette, Biggio, they're all going to know, they're going to be seasoned, they're going to know what to do in runners and scoring positions based off experience. They're going to know when to do this, when to do that. Danny Jansen's going to be a bounce-back candidate. He has very good hand-eye coordination. He just needs to put the barrel on the bat. The bullpen, the Jays seems to be getting good bargain pitchers on the bullpen like Daniel Hudson. They also have some fireballs down AAA, so I'm not worried about that. But the rotation, it all starts there. And would you even consider Wags back or throwing 5 starters on a good team? I don't know. So right now, playoffs is a long shot, a very big dream for the Jays next year, but certainly possible if everything goes right.
It's also a tough question to answer as well because, I mean, we have a whole offseason ahead, so the offseason, again, will dictate how serious they are to contend in 2020. If we see them possibly spend a little on the rotation, maybe add an Odorizzi or a Zach Wheeler, a couple of guys that we've talked about recently, then maybe you can kind of make the argument for it, but if management doesn't think they're ready yet, they probably won't spend that money just yet. So I think this will be a much easier question to answer after the offseason going into next year.
Because that's the whole question. Is Ross Atkins and Mark Shapiro willing to spend money this offseason? I mean, are they going to wait till the next? Well, like you said, Rob. I mean, it all depends on what their plan is, and you'll be able to tell really early on when free agency gets going what their plan is for the 2020 season, and that right there might tell you if they're going to be a playoff team or not. But it's so hard to tell.
Yeah, do you think there's an urgency for them to win next season or no?
I think it would be the 2021 season is that urgent year. I think next year, because like you said, the whole seasoning bit, you'll have Pearson for most of the season. You might have Anthony Kay for the whole year. You might see a lot of TJ Zook for most of the season. And then the following year, everybody's almost had a full year of it. Vladdy and Bo and Kevin have almost had 2 full seasons of it. So I think the 2021 season is when they're going to be in that win-now mode.
I think the reason why you should feel encouraged as a fan is really because I think that this year is the low point of the rebuild. I think that the worst is over, that the hard part of watching a team without Vladdy Guerrero